Day 10, not for the week. Again, yesterday was the beginning of Song of Songs, chapter 3, verse 6, the wedding ceremony. 4 pieces of huge wisdom that we're going to learn that are going to give life. Today, though, we're not looking at this relationship, husband and wife. We're looking at this relationship, us and God. And so if you're with us yesterday, you know, today we're talking about that presence, the column of smoke. And certainly we understand that that is Jesus. And what I want you to do right now, and many of you have said this before for me, I know in the beginning we talked about making this statement to our spouse, you are good for me. You are good for me. And to be able to say this to our spouse, I am good for you. But the second huge truth is this. If I were to write a book, this would be the 2 things, right? You are good for each other. But the other one is your spouse is not Jesus. So what I want you to say to your spouse today is this. You are not Jesus. And go ahead and also tell your spouse this, I am not Jesus. Right? Jesus is Jesus, right? Certainly our spouse can bring us closer to Jesus, but our spouse is not Jesus. And so often what happens in a marriage relationship is, even before it, we've made marriage into an idol. Thinking that marriage is going to satisfy us, thinking that marriage is going to complete us, and ultimately thinking our spouse is going to complete us. Our spouse is going to be our Savior that's going to truly give us life. What is that called? If we make our marriage or our spouse into this thing that is supposed to completely satisfy us or fulfill us. Again, certainly they are good for us, but they are not Jesus. You know what that's called? It's called idolatry. Right? The first commandment of our faith is don't have any other gods before me. And what happens so often, right? We make our spouse into an idol. What does that do? It puts so much pressure on our marriage, right? And on our spouse. We're making them into something that God has not created them to be. Yes, they are good for us, but they are not the one that completes us. They are not the perfect one. So again, go ahead and say this to your spouse. You are not Jesus. And go ahead and also tell your spouse, I am not Jesus, right? Jesus is Jesus. And so as we think about our relationship with Jesus, this column of smoke that continues to lead us out of the land of slavery, I want to ask you this question and consider this and talk about this with your spouse. When do you feel closest with Jesus? When do you truly just feel like he has given you life? Is it, and I think we all kind of have different faith languages, if you will, and certainly all these things, all these habits, if you will, right, bring us closer to him, but I wonder, right, maybe it's music. Maybe it's music, where somehow you're just caught up in the heaven. Maybe it's Christian music, most likely, it probably would be, right, but music that just pulls at your heartstrings and just helps you think about Jesus and just see him. Maybe it's creation. Maybe it's seeing a sunset or sunrise, or just seeing gentle snowfall or some spring rain. Maybe it's seeing flowers bud, right? Maybe it's animals, right? Or you just can't help but just experience the presence of God. Or maybe it's looking up into the stars where you just feel close to God and your eyes are just on him. Maybe, right? It's just clearly studying the scriptures. And when you open up the Bible, right, you just feel so close and you just see Jesus. Most certainly that is there. And I pray that you get to do that. Maybe it's quiet time, where you can just sit still and just be still and know that he is God, and you just experience him and you feel him. Maybe it's serving. Maybe it's serving. Right? Where you're just going side to side with Jesus and you just feel so close to him and you just see him and you know he's teaching you how to love. Right? Maybe it's gathering with other Christians and just big gatherings. Maybe we call it worship. Right? Is it that? Right? Where do you sense this column of smoke the most in your relationship with Jesus? Today I'm going to encourage you, or just think about, certainly, that your spouse is not Jesus, but think about Jesus. Grow in your relationship with Jesus and spend time praying with your spouse. And go ahead as you pray, knee to knee, hand to hand. All right? Again, this is not for the weak, so pray with each other. All right? You know who prays? Victors pray. Right? Conquerors pray. Right? The weak, they don't pray, but you guys are strong, and so keep learning how to pray together. But pray this prayer: Jesus, thank you that you are Jesus. Thank you that my spouse is not you. Right? Teach me that. Don't let me make my marriage or my spouse into an idol, and draw me closer to you, Jesus. Help these holy habits to take place in my relationship with you. Day 10, not for the week. We'll see you for day 11.